most admirable chasers you could possibly wish to see.
Welcome to the Race Hour podcast in association with Bet365, the home of the position payout. I'm Rory Jiwani, and thanks for joining us on the first podcast of the new jump season, although we still have a bit of flat business to attend to. We'll be looking at 6 of the races being screened live on ITV, and we have 3 sharp minds to try and pick out some winners. Cheltenham Festival winning jockey Paddy Aspell, Pat Cooney of Bet365, and Gambling.com's self-described general nuisance, Diarmuid Nolan. Welcome to you all. Before we get stuck into the action, just a quick explanation of the position payout. This is Bet365's alternative to each way betting. Actually, Pat, maybe I should pass this over to you to give us the lowdown on the position payout.
Yeah, it's a newly formed idea, really. And if the more higher up the leaderboard, if you will, your horse finishes, the bigger your payout is. So, if your horse finishes second, you get a decent amount back. If it's third, you don't have to back the horse each way. Your bet is primarily one stake based on its finishing position. So you can back those horses. Let's say those horses that you know are going to be the bridesmaid. You think, well, he always finishes second, rather than back him each way. Then you can back him win, and you get that reduced payout, but advantageous to you. So you can pick your way through it all, really, Rory, by selecting the right type of horses for this race. So it's a hugely popular one. The worry we have, of course, there's a few shrewdies out there who, are working their way around the system a little bit. So we have to give due deference to them. But it's an intriguing market because we all have these horses, don't we? We all think, God, he never wins, but he's always second or third. They're the type of horses you could be looking at. So, it's an intriguing market, and not lost on the shrewder punter as well, I can tell you.
Yeah, you've always got to watch those. Let's get stuck into the action. First up at Wincanton, we've got the Rising Stars Novice Chase. The going currently listed as good to firm. It's a grade 2 over 2.5 miles. Won last year by Boomborn, trained by Dan Skelton. He's got the outsider of the 5 runners in Settle Down Jill this time. We've got an Irish raider in Henry de Bromhead's Cobra Queen, with James Bowen taking the ride. Paul Nicholls won this race for the 10th time in 2023 with Nappers Hill. He saddles 6-4 on favourite Blue King Daru, but he was a 9-2 on favourite when he was turned over at Newton Abbot last month. Let's start with you, Paddy. Would you be looking to oppose the favourite here?
Well, he was only beaten very narrowly, but with very skimpy odds, as you say, 2-9. Was certainly disappointing, but he does have a good CV in this race. And you would imagine he ran, that was 3 weeks ago, and it was during that period when it did appear that some of the ditch it runners were just taking a little bit of a blow on the return. So it is forgivable, there's no doubt. He's very, very well into the weights here. On the book, he's got to be winning, but Henry de Bromhead has got his mare Cobra Queen in real good nick at the minute. She definitely seems to have improved for jumping a fence, and with a bit more luck on her side, she should be coming here looking to rattle off the 4-timer. The big positive for me with Cobra Queen is obviously she has a little bit to do on the book, but going right-handed, I think, is massive to this mare. All her best form is going this way around. Now, Wincanton takes a lot of jumping, and this will be our stiffest test to date. But I do like these battle-hardened Irish horses coming over here, and I do think Henry de Bromhead, in particular, with the mares, does very well over fences that he sends over here. The yard are absolutely flying along. Obviously, heard Tony Keenan, I thought, made a great point yesterday that I think Darragh O'Keefe is putting a little bit of pressure on the job down there just to ramp things up a little bit. Maybe switch things up and ride these horses a little bit differently. And the results are telling. Although she's got a little bit to do on the numbers, as I say, if you're looking to back Blue King Daru, who was turned over narrowly, but that was at Newton Abbot last time. Deeper water here tomorrow. He's just maybe not the most reliable. So I'm going to take the mare here, Cobra Queen, who isn't getting as much weight as what she would be in a handicap, but she arrives here much better nick than the favourite.
So 1 vote for Cobra Queen from Paddy. Pat, you got a view on this one?
Yeah, my reservation with Blue King Daru. I mean, he's a Grade 2 winner over hurdles, so he really ought to be winning at the weights. But when he Chepstow a month ago, he was a non-runner on fast ground. So I know he's okay on good ground. But there might be a reservation about is the ground going to be on the quick side for him? And as a company, we're expecting loads of Paul Nicol multiples at Wincanton. I think he had 4 winners or so at this meeting last year. So there'll be plenty of multiples. But this fella's round about 6-4 on at the moment with a going maybe reservation about him. So I'll be a little bit with Paddy. If you're Cobra Queen, you've got a mare who's really, really progressing. Yes, she does have a bit to find at the weights, but it's Henry de Bromhead, and the betting public absolutely adore Henry de Bromhead runners. Same with Gavin Cromwell when they come over. They're all going to be popular in the market. And I would imagine the two of them will get shorter together in the market. So if this is going to be 6-4 on, famous last words, we wouldn't mind seeing him in a few multiples because he's got that ground reservation about him.
Yeah, famous last words, Pat. I will speak to you again at 4 o'clock on Saturday afternoon. Dermot, 2-horse race, is it? Or do you see anything else getting involved?
Don't really see anything else, but I completely agree with Paddy. It was like he actually read my document here that I'd read it this morning. Everything Paddy said, I completely agree with. And I think Cobra Queen, over hurdles, you wouldn't even be having this discussion. Yeah. 1 horse wins, but Blue King Daru has not jumped the fence properly yet. He keeps making mistakes. There keeps being that same note in the racing post. Didn't jump with fluency. That's there all the time. So I think have to take him on. And Cobra Queen could take stopping. This is just, she's race fit and ready to go.
Yep. So the panel all in agreement. Cobra Queen, the bet at Wincanton in the Rising Stars Novice Chase. Next up, we got a cracking betting heat in the Grand Sefton at Aintree over the national fences. 2 miles and 5 furlongs the distance. Going good to soft. No fewer than 17 runners. So Pat, that's quite a few places on the each way betting. I think you got an extra place there.
Yeah, we're paying first 5 places on the race. And, just sort of asking around the fellas in the office, I think I asked 10 people and got 10 different selections. So they weren't much use to me at all there. But we've all tried to come up with the same theory in the race. It's the horses that are best fresh that are top of the market. You look at Johnny Who, for example. I mean, he won his only point to point, but he's only won 3 times in his career overalls, and they've all been first time out. So he's been popular. The caveat there is, well, he ended up running in the Irish National at the end of the year, so his 2 miles 5 going to be on the sharp side for him. So I imagine he might drift. The money horse has been White Rhino for the Greenall Guerrera combo. They actually have Gaboria in the race as well, so they come in with 2 live chances. But we've all tended to go in the market for the same type of profiles. The one that I like at the prices is Our Power of Sam Thomas. Now, this fella ended the season 3rd in a Scottish Grand National of a marker 143, and he can run off 142 here. So I can make a claim out for him being a well-handicapped horse. But as I say, people are all looking to find the same clue, which is, are you best fresh? But that applies to probably the first 4 or 5 in the market. So I quite like Sam's Our Power at a price each way here.
Yeah, King Turgeon won last year, carrying 10 stone 2, 11 stone 5 this time round. We haven't had a repeat winner of this race, actually, over the last 20-odd years. And I should mention, actually, 5 places each way and also 5 places for the position payout. So good terms there if you want to get involved at something, perhaps at a big price. Dermot, what do you reckon to this one?
Yeah, I completely agree with Pat. I thought Our Power is very interesting. Trip-wise, definitely arguably short. He was 3rd last time in the Scottish National, ran an absolute screamer of a race. But if they're positive with him, his last win was over this trip back in 2023, not 2013, thank God. 2023. And it was just a really, really good performance. But mostly here, he's a pound below that last mark with the brilliant Dylan Johnson claiming another 3 off. He's very well in here. A positive ride. He handles these fences as well. His run over the Grand National fences, he jumped them with aplomb. He just didn't get home. So this shorter trip should suit from that regard. He's 10 years old, so he's definitely not getting quicker. But if he can turn it on from the front over this trip, he could stretch them. And at 10 years old, there's still a bit of life in him yet. And I think at the odds, he's a great bet on that position payout. As you said, Rory.
Yeah, Paddy, you'll have ridden over these fences. You'll have ridden in this race back in the day. I mean, before you give us your selection, is it the national fences always used to be a real specialist's track, certain horses, but over the years, obviously, they've lessened the difficulty of the fences. It's not so much of a horse for a course, is it now?
No, I don't think so. But I'll be honest with you, Rory. I've ridden some horses over these fences that you just wouldn't have been exactly pawing the ground to get out the door and ride them over fences. But it's a very specialist track in the fact that I think you need a horse with a bit of self-preservation, because the big bold jumpers, being bold here and there is okay, but these national fences will tend to tip you out on your nose if you're big and bold. You've got to be efficient, A to B. It's all about saving energy, really. And horses that, maybe seem to struggle over a regulation fence generally had a good record round this course. So, yeah, they are quite unique. But for me, it's all about a bit of self-preservation, but more importantly, efficiency.
And what do you reckon for a selection in this race, Paddy?
Well, we've seen a very well-backed winner of David Pipe's yesterday. And one thing I always notice when you see David Pipe interviewed, he's very, very, he's wildly like his old man, but he'll always have that bit of a twinkle in his eye. And the money was down yesterday on one at Chepstow. He had that old twinkle in his eye, and it duly went and got the job done. Very similar setup to King Turgeon. First run back, it had the wind up. But more so, this chap, he's very, very good round here, full stop, King Turgeon. And I mean, when I looked down earlier at his profile, I mean, you get so familiar to these names. Still only a 7-year-old, King Turgeon. Compared to a good few of these, he's got age on his side, King Turgeon. He's had the wind up. He is operating off a £10 higher mark this time. But look at it this way, would £10 have stopped him last year? I'm not so sure. I think the fresh angle is massive with this fella, and he would be the selection. The other one I wanted to give a mention to was, obviously, Brian Hughes has got the retainer now with the Jimmy Fife ownership, and Blue Denfer, he's been transferred from the Crawford team. Now, this fella's only 6. I just wonder how he could get on tomorrow on his first start for Donald McCain, but plenty of luck going to be involved here. But for me, a horse who's got previous jumping these Aintree fences is a huge, huge tick in the box.
Okay, so that's the Grand Sefton. We're going to go back to Wincanton now for the Grade 2 Elite Hurdle over 1 mile and 7 furlongs. The hurdles course at Wincanton has a bit more juice than the jumps track, than the chase track. It's officially good. Just the 4 runners in this one. Paul Nicholls-Roubaud seeking a hat-trick of victories, and Nicholls also won in 2022, courtesy of Nappers Hill, who was withdrawn at the 48-hour stage. Roubaud is giving weight all round, but he's 4-1 on to win again. Hamlet's Knight, trained by James Owen and ridden by James Bowen, is next best at 6-1. Dermot, I'm not sure we need to spend too much time on this one. Can Roubaud be beaten here?
No, I'm happy to move on as well. I think he's a very good racehorse. He's got a lovely level about him. He dominates these races. He's a real quintessential Paul Nicholls money-grabbing horse, which is just Paul Nicholls has made a career out of this, maxing out these horses even, and getting them to pick up these pots. Roubaud wins, and it's hard to see anything getting within 3 or 4 lengths of him.
Paddy, any view on this one?
Well, I think he's 4-1. I think he should be even shorter, to be honest. You're not going to beat him tactically because he just jumps off in front and makes all the running. So it's not going to be a crawl by any means. He's good round Wincanton. He's good on this type of ground. Expect the facile win, and then he'll rock up at Kempton over Christmas and probably finish 3rd in that good-looking race over hurdles there.
Yeah, Paddy, same sort of view. He would sort of horse you would have liked to have ridden back in the day?
Oh, absolutely. Unfortunately, I mean, back in the day, like the Elite Hurdle, it was one of those races that, they were a big part of the national hunt season, but been small fields now for a few years. And obviously, Roubaud's got plenty of previous in here. They tried to make a chaser out of him last year, and he did okay here and there, but I would imagine he will be sticking over the smaller obstacles this year, especially if he can pick up some nice pots like this tomorrow. On paper, it is a schooling session for Rubo, but at the end of the day, Rory, this is a horse race. But if he jumps all the flights, there's nothing in here that's got the ability to beat Rubo.
Okay, moving on. We've got 2 flat races from Doncaster to look at. No more of that nonsense after today. Although Pat does prefer the flat to the jumps, don't you?
I prefer just backing winners. I don't mind if they're flat or jumps, really. But this is a good race actually. The 3:10, the Gillies Fillies. It's a Class 1, and there's lots of fillies and mares here who were nearly horses all year. So it's a good looking race, I have to say.
Yeah, 18 runners. So we've got 4 places each way and on the position payout. The going is soft at Donny, and we've got a favourite, 9-4 favourite in Danielle, trained by John and Thady Gosden. James Doyle on board. He was the winning jockey last year on Estrange for David O'Mara. She was the 12th 3-year-old winner of the race in 22 previous renewals. I mean, Pat, it is November. It's cold. The flat. You got much interest in this one?
This has been
from a betting perspective.
Yeah, it's been a light betting race, shall we say, so far. Where the market's headed by Danielle, and when you look at official ratings, she's rated 110. The next in is 104. So on the form book, she's a worthy favourite in the race. We've got Anna Swan of William Haggis, hasn't won in 4 races this season. My eye is drawn to number 15, El Wateen of Syed bin Sarur, and she's got a decent looking CV. She began the season way back in May, was 4th in the English 1,000 guineas. And I noticed a comment in the Racing Post that day. Trainer said she'd be better with some give in the ground. Well, it's going to be softish tomorrow at Doncaster. Then she ran in the Epsom Oaks. We can forgive her that. Then she ran in the Group 1 at Newmarket. We can forgive her that. And her last run was 4th over a mile, and she was noted staying on strong at Newmarket. So it looks to me, Roy, like a mile 2, give in the ground. This type of race sets up very well for her. So I think El Wateen would be a pretty solid option in this race.
That's the view of Pat. Dermot, what do you reckon?
It's a race I could make heads or tails of. So in Pat we trust, I'll follow Pat in there, and I'm happy to follow him home.
And Paddy, are we going to make it all following Pat here, or have you got one here?
Well, obviously, there's plenty of 3-year-olds lurking in here, but I mean, this ground is going to be desperate. Doncaster, we've got to factor that in. Seen at the meeting last week, it was very difficult to come from off the pace. So there was one that I like in here, and it was one of the slightly older ones, and that was the Irish Raider, Kevin Coleman's Akachita. Kevin's record when he comes over with the flat horses, he comes over for a lot of these the Super Sunday races, and he lands some big pots, and he's got this man on board again tomorrow, Shane Gray. They've got an incredible strike rate. Akachita's form, if you go down through it, it's impossible to knock her. She turns up every time. She won't mind the ground at all. She's drawn 11, lovely draw there, and she'll go forward as well. They don't ride her cold here, so this won't be for the faint-hearted. I just wonder how many of these 3-year-olds will be up for it. So I've gone for the each way angle here with Akachita, who's very, very consistent.
Yeah, I was looking at the list of races and thinking, we're going to get much for the flat, but 2 nice selections there at decent prices. So, pleasantly surprised there. And of course, if you fancy the 8 each way, you could get on with the position payout. We've got a couple more races to go through. Back to Wincanton. And I'm a bit disappointed in this one. It's the Badger Beers Handicap Chase. And Paddy, you were sort of saying about, like the Elite Hurdle, a big race a few years back, decent fields. And you could say the same about this one. 3 miles and a furlong, the Badger Beers Handicap Chase. Just the 7 runners. Now, Paul Nicholls has won it 11 times, the last time with Frodon in 2022. It was won last year by Sam Thomas's front runner, Al Dancer, at 25-1. When I looked at this yesterday, the Doyen Chief was the favourite for Alan King, but was pulled out at final decks. So that leaves 3-1 joint favourites in Nicholls' top weight 3 under through 5 and Mickey Bowen's Art of Diplomacy. We'll start with you, Paddy. What do you reckon to this race?
Yeah, disappointing number, isn't it? But that's the way it goes. I mean, look, at this time of the year, if you've got firm in any sort of a going description, these proper winter horses, they're going to be staying at home, full stop. But for the 7, we've got at least plenty of course form. And I've got to say, Rory, I've got some great memories with this race because last year I was involved on a naps table that had quite a lofty prize to the winner. Obviously, tomorrow was the last day. I was 24. Well, I was minus 24. So I chucked Al Dancer in, didn't I? And he just over the line. I mean, I had to wear a mask for the next week. Honestly, it was sweet as a nut. So I do like this race, but there's no Al Dancer kind of poke this year, simply because we're lacking the numbers. I do think the top horse, he's a 10-year-old now, 300 through 5, and he's attempting to give away £8 plus here, but the fresh angle is big with him. He's had the obligatory Paul Nicholls wind up, but Art of Diplomacy, he's really on the improve over fences for a 9-year-old, and he was banged there at Chepstow last time when, I don't know what he done really, he just fell over at the back of the fence at Chepstow, didn't make a desperate bad mistake. Scarface is a horse I've gone off the cliff with one too many times. I've just never managed to nail him down, albeit he's got plenty of ability. But for me, I'm struggling to go against the Nicholls horse here, 300 through 5, simply because of the freshness angle. He's run this track well in the past, and because we've got, I would say, a pretty watery renewal with just the 7 runners, I think he could be up to giving £8 and a beating to this field here.
Dermot, what do you reckon? It's obviously disappointing field. You'd have wanted a bigger field and more of a betting heat. But Paddy thinks 300 through 5 might be the answer. What do you reckon?
Our real hardcore listeners will remember when I once called this the Badger Alice chase by accident rather than Badger Ales years ago. I thought 300 through 5 is a very good horse. I just think he's made a career out of finding one too good. And the one I like here is Gustavian for Anthony Honeyball. Last season, this might have flown under the radar off £6 higher. He was running an absolute screamer when he was basically brought down and stopped. He still stayed on to finish 3rd. You can mark that effort up massively. He was effectively stopped in his tracks. And off this kind of a lower rating here, off these odds, I think Gustavian, he looked very nice fresh last year, stayed on really well. I think this race will suit him excellently, and at these odds I think Gustavian could be a decent bet this weekend.
And over to you, Pat. What do you reckon for the Badger Beers chase?
Well, if it was a ballot box and I was in there, I was a bit hoping there would be a category for none of the above, really, because I didn't fancy any of them, to be honest with you. Art of Diplomacy, this is a Class 1. Could he win a Class 1? Well, that's unproven. 300 through 5, very interesting. Goes well fresh, as we've already said. But he was second in this race 2 years ago off 147. And he's now 152, and I can't believe he's £5 better, 2 years older. So I'm not sure with him. A couple of these are having their first run since a wind-up. A couple of these are having their first run for 9-10 months. So I'll go for Gustavian as well. Anthony Honeyball, he's a good record at Wincanton as well. This is his first run sprint for a wind-up. And he's only sitting down there with 10 stone 3. And when you think he's getting a stone and 11 from 300 through 5, that seems pretty decent currency. So I just started at the bottom weight and worked up here, really. But as I say, if there was an option for none of the above, I would have been ticking that one in this race.
And gents, with the wind up, because I always thought there's a bit of a sort of clash of school of thoughts here, because sometimes it's the first run after the wind up, but others would say it's the second run after the wind up is the time to catch them. What do you guys reckon? Go on, Dermot.
I was going to say, sorry, I was new there. I was going to say Paddy's your man here, I think.
Go on, Paddy. First run after the wind up or second run to catch them?
Well, I would be more prone for first, but I think the stats are pretty much with the second run after wind up. So it is hard to go against the stats. But I mean, I think I know we say that maybe horses are some of them aren't the most intelligent creatures, some of the things we see them do. But if it takes them if it takes them to run around for 2 or 3 miles to realise they can breathe, they can't be that slow thinkers. I think in the morning times at home they realise that life's pretty good after the wind up. So I don't know. I suppose with the wind ups, well, it's only when they're successful. It's the good old wind up, but we never hear about the ones that are tailed off and the owners still spend a fortune getting the wind up. I think it's if the argument fits, isn't it?
Absolutely. Rounding things off for us, as far as the ITV races go, is the November Handicap at Doncaster. The last race of the British Turf Flat season. It's over a mile and a half. 23 runners in this. So again, Pat, we've got the old extra places coming out and some big ones here.
Yeah, first six places on the race. Normally it would be first four, but it's first six. And that's why you know it's a hard-looking race when bookmakers are paying first six on the race. And it has been a lively betting market because, as Paddy was saying about Doncaster will be tested, we've known all week it's going to be soft. So the draw doesn't tend to make too much of a difference when it's soft ground. They all tend to come up the middle anyway. So the draw isn't been a factor. And it's been quite a vibrant anti-post market. I would imagine the likes of Castle Cove of William Haggis would be favourite for this. Now, I saw this horse run at Newbury last time, and I thought Kieran Fallon gave him an awful lot to do. He was stepping up from a mile 2 to a mile and 5 and a bit, I think it was that day. And he dropped them out just about at the back, but he didn't look a quick horse by any means. He just looked like a slow horse. He's dropping down to a mile and a half on Saturday. And I just think a combination of soft ground, a mile and a half, first-time hood as well to make it easier for Jason Hart, who's riding. I could see him being a very popular order, but there's several in this race who are lightly raced. I mean, Rafe Beckett's got Lord Melbourne and Master Vintner, and they're decent types as well. Billy Loughlin's on Hopewell Rock, and that's got a solid-looking profile. He's stall one. But I do like the makeup of Castle Cove, a mile and a half, soft ground, first-time hood, and a more prominent ride this time. But as I say, full field, 23 runners, first 6 places. So scratch below the surface, and I'm sure there's some value at double-figure odds somewhere.
Yeah, you mentioned Lord Melbourne, who won it last year for Rafe Beckett, and he's bidding to become the first repeat winner in this race's long history. Harry Fry's 2022 winner, Metier, is back for another crack. We've only had 2 winning favourites in the last 10 renewals. We've got Castle Cove, as you mentioned, Hopewell Rock, trained by George Bowie, vying for favouritism. Lord Melbourne just behind those. One I noticed at 11-1 is David O'Mara's Stress Free, who's 4th in the Ebor behind Ethical Diamond, suddenly looks like decent form after the Breeders' Cup turf. Dermot, what do you reckon for this one? Looking for something at a price?
Yeah, it's a monstrous race, but those place terms with Bet365 are obviously very, very alluring there. I thought Insanity is quite a decent price here at 20-1. Huge effort last time at York. I think kind of lost his position about 3 furlongs out. And I think had that not happened, he kind of rattled home again for second. He was extremely prominent. Not sure if he clipped heels or what happened, but he ended up falling back towards the kind of back end of midfield and came through again. A more straightforward passage here. He should be going close. Very good horse for the 6 places. He's really consistent, but the door is opening for him. He does deserve a big one. And at the odds there of 18-1 or so, I think he's a cracking price. For a trainer, Alan King, who of late is kind of proving a better flat trainer than a jumps trainer the last few years. He's got a very good strike rate. So for a horse here at these odds with the level of ability he has, I think he's a very good price here.
Yep, 6 places each way and on the position payout, if you fancy giving that a go. Paddy, are you looking at the top of the market or something at a bigger price?
It's hard to look away from the top of the market, Rory. I think it's quite a deep race, though, because we've got so many of these 3-year-olds lurking. But again, I will have to highlight, I don't think plenty of these will be fancying a mile and a half in the mud. Rafe Beckett, he's got a very strong hand here, hasn't he? Because Lord Melbourne is, although a 5-year-old, still a horse on the improve. And I think he's ridden by one of the young fellas who has improved just out of all recognition this year. It was no surprise to see Rafe Beckett snap this fella up, Jack Dace, pretty early. in the season, and he's phenomenal value. It was another Jack Dowdy who was taking weight off his back last year. So with Jack's 5 off, I mean, he's still very competitive, Lord Melbourne. So he is without a doubt the one to beat. But I want to find something that's going to hit the frame here, and I was possibly looking at one of these 3-year-olds to see if they could possibly see this out. Tiernan is an interesting one at a big price. He was turned over at very, very skimpy odds at Hamilton last time, but I think he's badly handicapped off 101. But we've not seen him since then, and he was beaten by Acritus, a mare who's turned out not too bad of Dave O'Meara's. I just wonder that Ian Jardine has put him away since. He's tied his tongue down tomorrow. Now, being by Dubawi would worry me a little bit on this sort of ground, but it's interesting they've just hung fire on this sort of contest, so it'll be no surprise to see him shape much better tomorrow. But the one that I've come down on was one of 2 Gary Moore runners here. Atherstone Warrior. He's done extremely well since joining Gary Moore. In 5 starts, he's won twice and he's hit the frame as well. Another horse who's ridden here by a very capable young man in Ashley Lewis. This is a horse who is proven in the ground, and the Moore team continue in very, very good order. They've also got Miller Spirit in here as well, but I was going to possibly take him from stall 3 each way just to see if we can nick a bit, obviously with a few extra places on offer here.
So there we go. That's it for our 6 races on ITV. Let's get your naps of the card or of the Saturday, and or even perhaps any other horses you fancy this weekend. We'll start with you, Paddy.
Well, to be honest, Rory, I always go elsewhere, believe it or not. I think Dermo will confirm that. And generally very random.
Somewhere up the north, isn't it? Somewhere up yeah.
You couldn't get much further north. I've gone to Kelso in the 12-10, Rory, and this was a filly who really caught my eye last time. She's got a handicap mark. I didn't honestly think the handicapper would give them one. I thought he might possibly tell them to go again on what I seen that day, but it was Mystical Martika of Lucinda Russell's and Michael Scudamore's. This is a filly. She's obviously had a run in a bumper, 3 runs over hurdles. Now he's given her 94. He could have given her more. I'd have possibly given her a little more. But Derek Fox takes over in the play tomorrow, and this is a yard who their stock has risen so much in the last few years. I'd say Lucinda possibly couldn't even tell yourself how many horses they've got nowadays. It's a huge yard. But when I seen that mark last night, I thought there could be a little bit of wiggle room there. So Mystical Martika in the 12-10 at Kelso. So I'll know my fate early doors tomorrow, whether the nap's been beaten or it's been a winner.
Absolutely. Dermot, what's your nap of the races we looked at, or you're going to go away somewhere else?
So I have an away tip on Sunday, but just in case this horse doesn't run, I will put up Our Power in the Grand Sefton as my nap of the weekend. But if this horse does run, because the decks aren't out yet for Sunday, obviously, but Some Sky runs on Sunday at Naas in the 227 for Dara O'Keefe and Henry de Bromhead, who could not be in better form. The race is full of a few horses who will be looking to kind of get back to fitness. You've got Spillane Tower in here and back to normal. Both of them are kind of on a retrieval mission. So I'd say a nice trip round for kind of both of those horses. They could take up a small bit of the market too, but I'd say both those horses are there really to kind of get themselves on a firm footing back towards Christmas. Some Sky is a horse that Henry de Bromhead pitched in a Grade 1 level last year twice. And at Christmas time, he beat Custom Taylor. He beat this horse well by about 6.5 lengths. At Limerick, Custom Taylor has won since. He's now rated 137, and Some Sky runs on Sunday off 125. So there's 12 pounds of a difference between him and Custom Taylor. Had that horse been running, and he beat him by 6.5 lengths. I think this horse is very well thrown in. 125 to me looks a very fair mark. And if Some Sky does run on Sunday, I'll be very interested in him, Rory. Very, very interested.
So that's 2 blocks on the handicap tipped already. Pat, you're going to make it a third?
Yeah, I'm going to thumb a lift to Kelso with Paddy. I'm going in the 152. Hopefully the lucky last. And I can't believe I'm going for this, really, based on his previous form. But Irish racegoers will probably remember he was trained by Shark Hanlon. He's actually 0 from 11 over hurdles. And somehow or other, he's ended up with Mickey Bowen. And his last 2 runs have been over fences, over extreme trips. He was a good second at Sedgefield in October. And then he absolutely dotted up at Newcastle last time out. He was given a real patient ride, same jockey ride in a £5 claimer, but he won very, very easily. He only went up 7 for that. So I'm drawing a line through all the hurdle form for Shark Hanlon and just basing it on his last 2 runs. He looked a horse that won with a ton in hand last time out for me, but not normally my style, 0 from 11 over hurdles, but I'm just going, the best is yet to come with this horse. And he did win very, very well last time out. So Mickey Bowen, they're a good trainer. They know what they're doing. This horse didn't look to have any jumping issues in his last 2 runs. So I think he's one of them, a step in front of the handicappers. So we're all off to Kelso, it looks like.
Yeah, the lucky last at Kelso. Can you just give us the name again? So is it Sir Carnegie?
Yes, Sir Carnegie, the top weight. But he's against a level of horses who I think he should be handling well enough, and hopefully Sir Carnegie will go on to bigger and better things after that.
So there you go, 3 handicap selections from the panel, and that's it. Our first Race Hour podcast of the new jump season in association with Bet365, the home of the position payout. From next week, it'll be jumps all the way. My thanks to Paddy Aspell, Pat Cooney and Diarmuid Nolan. I've been Rory Jiwani. Thank you for your company. Good luck with your bets, and we'll see you again next week.
Relentless, remorseless, and pounding Cheltenham Star into submission.